Alright, today I'm going to show you how to coat your structure with plaster bandages. The first step you want to do is cut your plaster bandages away from water because you don't want to get this whole roll wet and then the whole roll is wasted. So when you go to cut your plaster bandages, you grab the big roll out of the bag over a piece of newspaper so that the newspaper will catch the little bits of plaster that fall. And then you're going to cut your strips with these scissors that I have stored with the roll of plaster bandages. You can see there's plaster on them already because somebody had messy hands when they had to go cut more strips. So try to cut as many strips as you can before you go to do any actual plaster bandaging. So you can cut strips, skinny strips if you need them this way, and somewhat short. If you need them longer, you can cut a longer strip this way, but if you need them skinnier, then you cut this direction to get your plaster bandages cut to the size you need, depending on the form that you're working with, what structure you're working with. And I already have some bandages cut. I'm just going to get some more cut quickly here so that I have a decent amount ready to go. One more cutting and then I'll start demonstrating. Okay, so then this would be away from all of my workspace. Normally you're not going to see have any of your water or anything near. You put this back in the bag, put the bag and the scissors away, and if you are the last one of the class period, please make sure this newspaper gets dumped into the trash of the plaster. And you can just throw the whole piece of newspaper away. Okay, so now I'm ready to work. I get a warm bowl of water. The water has to be warm in order to activate the plaster better. The warmer it is, the better it'll react. And then I'm just going to take a strip and I'm going to dip it in the water. Get it all wet, and then I'm going to run my fingers through it, across it, kind of squeegee it like a squeegee. I'm squeezing it between my fingers, and then I'm going to start in one spot, and I'm just going to cover what I need to, and I'm going to make sure my pieces are overlapping because that's what's going to hold it. It's not going to stick to the aluminum foil. It might stick a little bit to newspaper, but not very well. It's actually sticking to the plaster, the other plaster bandages. And then I need to smooth it out with my fingers because if I leave any holes or if I leave any rough edges, that'll show up. If I want rough edges, I can do that. Then I'm going to take my next piece and continue doing that. Now, one layer of plaster bandages is probably not going to be enough. You'll probably at least have to do two to get it enough structure. Now, if you don't want to cover it entirely with plaster bandages, if you want some of the aluminum foil to show up, or some of the wire, or some of the cardboard, that's your design, that's your choice. So I would just continue building this up, including the bottom. On the bottom, on the base, if you have a piece of cardboard and you don't want that cardboard to show, go ahead and wrap that whole plaster bandage around the edge there so it hides the entire piece of cardboard. Now my rock, if I want it sharp edges and I don't want it smooth, I can actually make it kind of rough edges and build it up if I don't want it smooth. I could take a piece and crumple it up and really make it textured, as long as I get it to stick on. And I personally don't want the hole, so I'm going to smooth it out as much as I can. Get that string to go back in with that. Smooth it out a little bit so that string isn't sticking out. So you can add on to it. You can add on to other strips as well. It's a little bit harder if it doesn't have any strength, but if you want it to just to hang, you can attach it and let it hang. So that's how you would work with a structure that you built. If you're working with a mold, oh, one important thing I forgot to tell you, wax paper. Wax paper goes underneath so that all your splashes, all your little bits of plaster go on the wax paper. You keep this same piece of wax paper for the entire project. One piece of wax paper for the entire project, please, so we don't throw it away and then get a new one, throw it away, get a new one. We don't need to waste it. So one piece of wax paper per project. So I need another piece of wax paper to go underneath my mold in case I drip. I have my plastic wrap on top of my mold, and I'm just going to do the same process as I did for the other structure. So I'm going to dip it in the warm water, run it between my fingers, lay it on there, smooth it out. If you want a smooth face, a smooth mask, then make sure you get all your edges nice and smooth. If you want to make something kind of rough, that's fine. You can make it rough. It's your design. Whatever applies to your character or whatever mold you're using. If you're using a bowl for a mold, then you can do that. If you're using a balloon for a mold, you can do that. Once this dries, it will harden. Now, these rough edges, if you don't want your mask to go beyond, or your whatever mold you're using, you don't want your plaster bandages to go beyond that, then you either need to make sure you have short enough ones or fold it back up so that it doesn't go past where you want it to. But also watch your thickness, because you don't want it too thick compared to the rest unless that's part of your design. Plaster, once it hardens, is really hard to cut. In a mask, if you don't want to do the whole mask, you're welcome to do part of it. If you want an open mouth, then as you're placing this on there, or you want a hole, you want to make sure you're placing it on there so that it is open. Because that will be very difficult to cut once it's hardened to try and cut it. So you leave it on there to dry. Once it's dry, it will be able to take off. You can remove the plastic wrap, and you have your mask or whatever else you're using for a form.